Good morning. My name is Martin Wanjobi. We just have meeting people and then we can start for the day. I would like to welcome the 101 HR professionals that are joining us. Possibly what we could possibly ask is maybe by the past, you can mention which country you're coming from on chat. Then we can know who will do that. Just on chat, you can share the country you're coming from. People from Kenya, Nairobi, Uganda, Nigeria, welcome onto this. Maybe if you can hear us, type a yes. If you cannot hear us, type a no, and then we can be able to help. People from Uganda, Kenya, if you're hearing us, great. So, perfect. So, seeing people from Nigeria, Kenya, Zambia, anyone from Zambia? Nice, Uganda. Okay. So, let me welcome you to this session. And today is day 4. Just to take you on a journey, how we've done this journey. On day 1, we had a strategy with Charles Adot and Agnes Ruoro, and we handled issues around strategy. Day 2 and 3, on day 2 and 3, we were handling learning and development. And we had the pleasure of having Susan Kamba and then Eje from Nigeria. We had Tekwe Keta and we had Ademola Johnson. So far, we've shared the video recording for day 1. If you've not received, kindly check your email. And we will be sharing, today we shall be sharing session 2 and 3, learning and development. So just to get us going, if you cannot hear, please check on your audio. Okay, I can see people are not hearing. I hope that gets better. Someone's telling me there's an audio echo. I think, hope this is now better. Okay, so as we start off day 415 of this 5 days of e-learning, I'd like to welcome everyone. And where we are right now is we're handling performance management, days 4 and 5. So we are on today and tomorrow. Today we have Emmanuel Micheal from Nigeria and Nyaga from Copycat in Nairobi. Tomorrow we'll have Kate Yemi and Lilian Gala. And so for today's session, we're looking at performance management. Are we managing and measuring what matters? I believe it's Peter Drucker who said, what gets measured gets done. Are we measuring? What are we measuring? From a strategy session, we saw we have strategic objectives KPI, strategic initiative KPI, and operational KPI. That's the business as usual. So it really matters what we were measuring. How should the roles be weighted or by distribution of the KPI by percentage? What we have is a typical recommended. So if you're always busy, it means you're focusing on operations. Operations are what keep us busy. Now, there is a healthy ratio of this KPI, whether it's strategic initiative, strategic objectives, or strategic initiative KPI, and operational, again, depending on the role. So, without much ado, I'd like to what we want to start, before we start off, we'd like to run a small poll just to see what are we doing. Let me just get the poll running and then we can pick up from here. Okay, so our first poll for the day is, you'll see it on your screen. If you can just take 1 minute to take this poll. Do you think or feel performance management works in your organization? Yes or no, or hard to tell? Okay. You think most people is working for most people? Yeah. We have 66 people who have waited for this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, May, I think you move into your session, you've got the numbers work with. Yeah? I think it's working for most organizations. So, welcome May, who's the first speaker for the day. May, I'll leave you to introduce yourself. I might not do you justice. Welcome very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Martin. Good morning, Kenya. Good morning, Nigeria. Hope you're very well, and I hope you can hear me clearly. My name is Nyaga. I'm the HR expert with over 12 years of progressive experience in overseeing and directing HR operations across different sectors. And I'm the head of HR at Copycat Group, which is a leading systems integrator in East Africa. I'm responsible for HR strategy and building a culture of continuous improvement in all operational areas, as well as improving employee engagement and company operations that drive organizational growth and employee productivity. And excel in providing leadership and guidance on HR management and developing frameworks and strategies that align to the overall business strategy. I have past experience in security industry, chemical industry, banking industry, microfinance industry, and currently in the IT industry. So without much further ado, I will be discussing about performance management in these crisis times, which has changed the whole aspects, and I'll be sharing my learning objectives. I hope you can hear me. Thank you very much. I believe I'm very clear. Thank you. So I'll be sharing my screen right now. I hope you can see my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, perfect. My key learning objectives for this session, and for like 20 minutes or so before we get to answer your questions, will be looking at the new normal for work. What is performance management in terms of crisis? And I'll also be drilling down in terms of giving you experience of what we are currently doing at Copycat in terms of performance management evaluations, and also the conversation that comes with performance-based pay. What happens? What conversations do we need to have now and moving forward? I'll be as realistic as possible to ensure that we are aligned with the conversation here and not creating air into the air, because looking at the number of work, we are facing uncharted territory and learning as we go. We don't have a script of what is currently happening. Of course, as being a HR teams, our teams have always asked us for work fluidity and work-life balance to be able to work from home. Now the dynamics have changed and we have transitioned to remote and new working ways. And for me, I'm focusing from March 15th, 2020. That is when our President Uhuru Kenyatta here in Kenya announced officially that it was an epidemic and we needed to start moving forward regarding how we start social distancing and staying safe. Businesses experiencing unimaginable disruptions, to the point some are also looking at their survival. So let's start on the overall of the business. Where are we working right now? What is currently happening right now? We have companies that have declared leave without pay. Others have started restructuring in terms of retentions. Others have given staff on paid leave. Others are working remotely. However, we still have essential services which are still working. So during this pandemic time, we note and recognize the fact that our employees are not productive because of the crisis and the circumstances. We are adjusting at home, okay? Full remote work. We did not even have internet. So getting to call Safaricom to get internet, dealing with caregiving, as well as homeschooling, which was not a thing of the past. And we all took care of our kids and they went to school, but now we are homeschooling. Insecurity, we are having issues of salary cuts, preconceived symptoms of COVID-19, you start coughing and you're starting having stress to see whether you can prescribe yourself, loss of a loved one and many things, and in terms of the cases of where the news channels are coming from. In this environment, performance evaluation will be a heavy lift for all of us. And it will be a burden with what is happening around us. And it's crucial to create trust and security and shared responsibility between the management and the employees. So this means right now the businesses are reassessing their feedback strategies and they need to weigh in terms of a variety of factors to meet their unique organizational needs. However, we do take cognizance of the fact that some organizations are deciding on whether to abandon their current performance cycle or give everyone the same rating, especially whereby companies are not skewed or have an aligned financial year of January to December, others end in March, others start in April. So it is a debate that is happening in between executives and the leadership of various companies. However, in a nutshell, because of the different cycles of financials, however, I'm going to share with you what we are currently doing at Copycat. And also, let's look at performance management. Most of us, as I've earlier said, we don't have the script of how to manage through this crisis. However, we also need to take cognizance in terms of our business context and how performance management process maturity is in our various companies, given by the fact that it is a good to have, however, does it work? And that is why we started with that poll question, and it's good to hear majority of you state that the performance management is working in your companies. So looking at where we are, people are at the heart of what we do, and it's important to ensure that business runs as smoothly as possible. As much as we are working remotely, we are still continuing to work. It's just that we are not appearing physically into the offices, as well as maintaining social distancing measures to ensure teams are set up to work remotely. We've had a lot of engagements with the internal team in terms of accessing to VPN, so that work continues. However, we do take cognizance that Copycat, for example, our financial year is pegged on January to December. So therefore, on our basis is Q1 reviews are here. So for us at Copycat is that we are a performance-based organization, and it contributes to the effective management of individuals and teams to achieve their goals and organization success. So what does this mean? This means that, so apologies, let me. This means that we are using this opportunity to reevaluate our targets and budgets for this year. And looking at the long term, of course, vis-a-vis looking at what we can get right now in the short term. And while calibrating performance management system, we are considering on how we integrate other factors, cooperation, teamwork, engagement, and ethics, because we working remotely also means that we can access our systems at home. Our staff taking care of the documents, our confidential documents, how is our security in terms of hacking and all that. So this is a testing time for HR, for leadership, and for the company as a whole in how we continue these conversations for the employees. So why we have conducted at Copycat is because our performance financial year set is from January to December, and we already had set our KPIs at the beginning of the year in January. And therefore, we are due for a Q1 performance. And we do take cognizance that the productivity of the quarter was only 2.5 months before March 15. So after March 15, we take cognizance, the dynamics changed. So Our performance management framework is aligned to our balanced scorecard, and it's also we've embedded our copycat values, which pass over 20%, which amount to 20% of the scores and 80% of the key KPIs to be able to successfully drive our performance transformation. And we've also blended our learning approach that is experiential and using coaching and feedback and structured learning. So we use 70-20-10. 70% is on job training, 20% is coaching and feedback, and then 10% is structured learning, WebEx, classroom trainings. So right now, this time when we are evaluating performance, we are now going to start focusing on what really works for us right now. And it's good we have a framework that supports the current system and the current dynamics that we are in. Rule of the thumb, as leaders, we understand that we cannot expect so much from our employees right now to going above and beyond their roles during this time because of the stresses that I earlier mentioned that have been created during this time. And therefore, we are trying as much as possible to be empathetic so that we can ensure that the value and the purpose of their work that they are doing is still amountable to that. So critical to correct performance, why we are doing this, we note that now we're already in Q2, we need to correct business data performance for Q1. And this is where as leaders, we are using this data and we are using these areas of feedback from our employees, from the one-on-one conversations to be able to refocus our resources, what works well right now, because some, for example, like the sales team, it will not work for us because for them to close their businesses, they require face-to-face. And also we need to differentiate between also employees who are performing high, very high, and those who need development, and for those who are not on the right row. Pegged on the Q1. However, we are not using it as a bias in regard to cluster our employees. No, we are looking at opportunities to refocus our resources in terms of learning, what other roles or responsibility can they do now, or even those ones who have leave days, if they have the opportunity to even complete their leave days. For continuity and communication, that regular feedback does not just keep employees on track, but also it helps them to feel the sense of continuity. There's psychological safety, which is particularly important during this time. So we have seen it is very, very important to have these Q1 performance appraisals with what is happening right now, and all of us are maintaining social distance and working at homes. These continuous conversations with our line managers help us to have the comfort of what is happening and to continue the conversations of learning. And of course, mobile functionality is important because it allows employees to continue having their performance conversations with their managers anywhere, anytime, as well as benchmark and on their KPIs during this time. And therefore, it is important for her to continue having these conversations, and it doesn't bring out the bias and the air that comes with insecurity. However, different companies have different way of doing things, so it is, you have to do what works well for you at this particular point of time. Also, we note that recognition and reward for this point of time is more of recognition of high-performing employees is very critical to ensure that we still continue having warm conversations with our high talent. So when we do these Q1 appraisals, it's important that you're continuously reviewing these employees, having the conversations and affirming them that whatever they are doing and what they went beyond call of duty is recognized. And then also, gives a perspective, which I know Emmanuel will tackle in later, regarding setting a just and individual collaborative fashion and agree on what is can achievable during this time and what is realistic for the employee to achieve. So it is very critical to be able to ensure that we are having these conversations at the workplace. Employees still have a framework, and we are using this to continue to learn and grow. We are doing a lot of WebEx learning. We are doing a lot of also product solutions, refresher trainings happening using our 70-20-10 learning framework. We note most of it may not be on job experience. However, now we are using the 2010, which is coaching and mentorship through our line managers and leadership, as well as the WebEx learning from where we can, in regard to the respective roles that we do handle at Copycat. Without much further ado, I would like to know how we are doing in terms of questions. Any questions coming in?
Any question, you can type in on the chat, and then we'll be collecting all of them, then we can answer. Any burning question right now? Any burning question? You can type
Yes,
it on chat, and then
I've gotten from Lizzie. Lizzie, you're saying I missed your 70-20-10 learning framework. I'll repeat it. There's somebody, can you hear me? Some are saying they cannot hear me. Their audio is mute on their end. Okay.
you can do a check. If you can hear us, just type yes on chat, and then we can know we are all together. So we know it's not a
Yes.
audio problem, but it's not. Okay.
Okay.
It's individual.
Okay, perfect. Okay, let me, okay. So the 70-20 framework, we've embedded it in our performance management strategy. So what happens, and you know all this, we've grown up, including myself. I knew that for you to say that you have been trained, you needed to have gone to the classroom setup, right? So, however, as you grow in your years of experience, you note that most of the learning happens on job training through either through your buddy whom you have been assigned to at the workplace, guidance from your team leader, from your line manager, from the head of business, guiding you on how to do work, right? So therefore, at Copycat, we realigned on how our learning is. And I believe even Emmanuel is aligned on the same. You note that most of the learning happens on job. So that's where we get to learn the 70%. Because it's not only about classroom. Classroom, we go for conferences, we go for a 5-day lecture, and we come up, we are hyped, we want to change things. That time you're going to extra miles. You come back at the workplace, things issues on the ground are different. You have stress in terms of pressure to meet the targets. You have meetings. You have these other small responsibilities that you are supposed to do. So what happens to the learning that we went to and the powered back? It's the books or your notebooks that you're given, or the coursework somewhere starts collecting dust at the corner of either in your drawer or at home or in the office. So therefore, we break up the learning. So 70% is on job training. If for example, you have a salesperson who is very good in closing sales, and maybe you're struggling to close a sale, a line manager can be able to buddy you with that exemplary salesperson to be able to help you close a sale, like accompanying you to customers and showing you how it is done. That is on job. Now, 20% we did learn, or I did learn through coaching and development from my line managers, from my mentors, from everyone else. So what happens when we are starting employment, or even where we are right now, we always look up at a manager or a senior manager or a director in terms of what they are doing very well. So what happens is that they are able to share their experiences and they're able to guide us in terms of how to grow into our career. So that is 20%. Maybe it is in terms of meetings and presentation, maybe on or how your presentation workout should be, and they're able to guide you through that, or they're able to make you go out of your comfort zone and start looking at things differently. Now, the 10% is the classroom training. Of course, we do note that most learnings we do require refresher, we do require certifications. So that forms that as a 10% to be able to complement your 90% learning. I hope that is clear. How do you set up? Another questions I'm getting is that we are the measures you're putting in place to ensure whatever was planned for the financial will be achieved. Dr. Morioki, your question is not clear. What are the measures you're putting in place to ensure whatever was planned for the financial year will be achieved? I've gotten it. Dr. Morioki, what you have done right now, we are using this opportunity to review the Q1 performance and evaluate our KPIs and financial plans towards the end of the year. We've taken cognizance of the fact that due to the current crisis and circumstances, business is low, we will not be able to achieve. However, we can come to an understanding of what is realistic to achievable, at least break even for the year. I hope that has sorted you out. How do you set objectives and KPI for clerical officers, secretaries, and cleaners? Kibibi, I'll be able to answer you offline in regard to that because it requires understanding of the critical roles and what their KPIs in terms of measurable objectives are. So I can be able to answer you that. Hans, another question, how would you recommend to set for field engineers? I will be able to answer you that. If you're looking at, I'm seeing engineers, technicians, we have 3 categories of employees at the workplace. You're either in the sales role, that means you have a target assigned to you. You're either in a service role, that means you support the sales role complete. That may be for our side, we do servicing of machines, we do implementations and the likes, or you have a support function, that is your finance, HR, admin. So therefore, when you categorize and cluster your roles into this, it becomes very easier in terms of the KPIs and the roles. First of all, the job descriptions and the roles that they need to achieve on that. Please note on my end, audio is not there. Okay, so I can continue with sharing the slides. So we have a poll here, and this is the answer. Do you think or feel performance management works in your organization? 52% said yes, 20% said no, hard to tell 30%. When you talk about performance management, it has to be something that it is communication and there's buy-in from the top leadership to frontline employees. That means either there are rewards aligned to it, either it's a tick and box exercise. I've also had scenarios whereby it's more of an alignment in terms of salaries increments are given on whom you align to in terms of managers. So that means it's not authentic. However, looking at the impact of performance management, we look at the element of coaching, developing, and career growth and succession. So when we are looking in terms of a new role coming up or somebody has left the company and we need to fill into that role, first of all, we look internally. And that these conversations come from the line managers and the employees. And one of the KPIs of the line managers, which is the rule of the thumb we know, is that they have to have an accountability of developing their teams. However, we do note that there are some line managers who have insecurity or security issues. They don't want to grow their teams because they just want to remain relevant to the role. However, when that is not sustainable in the long run, and you find that there's always some issues of performance regarding from a departmental point of view. And we also have an element of line managers who take up the glory of all staff. So for us, we made sure that it is transparent, it is objective, and that means we don't have an element of subjective kind of way. It is your word against mine kind of conversations. And that's why from our KPI setting, we've only left 20% for our core values, which is a point of conversation. But the 80% is more of structured, very clear KPIs that are measurable, they are smart, they are achievable, they are realistic and time-bound. So we try as much as possible to ensure that courageous conversations are happening in the workplace and it is not biased or emotionally led, okay? Because sometimes the conversations can take a downturn. So I will continue with my slides in that regard as I look forward. So at this point of time, we do have staff who are due to be paid out incentives. For example, at Copycat, Our performance management framework is pegged to an incentive scheme. That means we do recognize that service, support, and sales have a role to play in meeting our overall targets. And therefore, we've come up with KPIs for them to go an extra mile. However, we do note the fact that right now it will not be possible to pay for that, or the business will not be able to achieve the Q1 targets due to the disruption that happened in Q1. So what we have done is that we have having continuous business review meetings on a monthly basis through WebEx calls. And here, all staff are accountable to the business numbers. And this was done at the beginning of the year, whereby we agreed this is what he had said to achieve this year. From a service support line, if you're able to cluster, or employees are able to understand what their role plays at the bottom line, it becomes very easy to have these conversations. So we've been communicating in terms of even our teams can be able to see what is happening with the market. And that's why we are saying that we are becoming transparent in communicating in terms of the decision made and what employees can expect in the future. Because remember, you also have to manage the expectations of the employees. So since employees or some will not be maybe getting their incentive, it is important to revise and review what performance looks like during this crisis, as we need to be ready to realign the efforts to high value activities. For example, we do have engineers who do a lot of coding. We do have engineers who are supporting our software clients. So this is an important time for them to evaluate the solutions, come up with maybe higher value solutions. And with this, we continue motivating and engaging our employees where it works. However, we also taking cognizant of the fact that even you, I believe, those who are having meetings virtually, I believe you have noticed that the time taken to have the meeting is shorter and focused on how work was being done and then on output, other than where we used to be in a room having meetings and the conversations kept on running. We are seeing there's a lot of efficiency and effectiveness taking place during this time, which we are learning on how to moving forward, how to implement this at the workplace. Also, we are looking at a scenario whereby some roles may need to be working remotely from home. So this is an important time for leaders and line managers and employees to start having hard conversations regarding the roles and see what will be the future. And that's why I'm saying we are focusing more on the future long time vis-a-vis short time. So this comes towards the end. Moving forward, there's no script, as I earlier said. We take things one day at a time. Every day here in Kenya, we are waiting for Mutahi Kagwe or the President Uhuru to give us the guidance on the way forward. So the only defense we can do right now is keep a cool head and accept that we don't have all the information at this point of time. Let's call a spade a spade. Secondly, we are continuing with learning, and that's why we are having the performance evaluations and we are having our e-learnings through the online platforms, and that's why we are here today in the first place to share this experience. So we are not letting learning fall off the radar. At the same time, you're keeping the wheels in motion, keeping everyone engaged. And you realize during this time, psychologically as an employee, we are connecting and talking to our managers makes us feel secure. And also ensuring our own development is very critical during this time of crisis. However, rule of the thumb, performance management is aligned on the maturity in your company. So therefore, there is no right or wrong answer for any company doing their performance. For example, for us, we automated it last year. So it makes us very easy to have the conversations online. However, if you have not automated the emails, the conversation, the telephone, WhatsApp can still work well, still documented. So always ensure you have the conversation and document, and then you'll be able to review. Thank you very much. Emmanuel, are you ready? Your mic is off.
His mic is off. Maybe as we try podcast.
Yes.
My mic is on, but I think this Martin takes over, and then before I come on.
Yes. Okay. So we have a second poll. I'd like to I'd like us to take this poll. Kindly ignore the re-RE in the beginning. The poll question is, let me launch it. The poll question is, are we having courageous discussions at the workplace on performance management for executive management to front employees? This is a multiple choice question. Yes. Okay. As we continue voting, there were some questions. Maybe you can have a look at them in the meanwhile.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes.
There are people who know one half yes. Problem is HR doesn't know which half. Okay. Let's get to some multiple voting. Okay. You can get at least an 80% or 50% vote. Yes. I think we'll be doing okay. Apologies for my audio. I think I'll try and do something better tomorrow. Apologies once again. Technology. This is what we learn from working at home. Okay, so let me close the poll. One more minute. If you haven't voted, kindly vote on the poll. Okay. Okay. I think let me end this poll now, then we can have, yes, May.
Martin, they're saying they can't hear you, your audio.
Yes.
So what Martin is saying, he should complete the poll and then he will display the results. So that's what Martin is saying.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Participants should complete the poll, which is showing on the screen, and then they can, he will display the results.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So I think we have 100 people who have already voted, 51%. I think we can end the polling. Okay, so Emmanuel, let me let you take over.
Okay. Good morning. Yeah, I think it's still morning. Not yet afternoon in Nairobi, I guess.
Yes.
So let me start by sharing my screen. Let me start by sharing my screen. Yes. Okay, so good morning, everyone. So today, following on what May has just shared, I will be discussing productivity for remote workers. To start off, a little brief about myself. I'm a globally certified HR practitioner who has been recognized with several awards, which include the 100 Most Influential Global HR Leader, 100 Global HR Hero, and recently 500 Most Fabulous Global HR Leader as well. So I have over 20 years work experience. And in HR, counting to today, I think I have about 17 years in HR. So I'm currently the head of human capital at Lesego Microfinance Bank. My experience spans across information technology, construction engineering, hospitality, and now in the financial services sector. Okay, so on display there are my handles. I host a weekly Twitter show. Okay. So the learning objective for today, the first thing there is employees at the end of this session. The plan is to ensure that employees are able to organize tasks and manage time more effectively when working remotely. And then at the end of this session, we also expect that employees will be able to modify or discover stable routine and be able to place complex and more important tasks at the start of the day during this particular period that they are working from home. Participants should also be able to understand the benefits of and be able to organize a dedicated workspace to increase productivity while working remotely. As an employee, you also be able to understand how and when to take breaks and be able to apply undivided focus working on tasks for increased productivity while you're working remotely, either during this period of lockdown or eventually if your organization decides to remain or deploy remote working practices across the business. And then the other learning objective is for employees to be able to discover times and hours within the day when they are most productive, and utilize this period to gain greater productivity while working remotely. Then as line managers, what will you benefit from today's session? The first one there is that you'll be able to demonstrate how to effectively set clear expectations for team members. Secondly, you'll be able to apply regular tools, channels of engagement and collaboration to foster good communication and inclusiveness amongst the team manager. And then thirdly, as a line manager, you will be able to help your remote team members increase productivity by being more accessible, more available, and more empathetic towards your team members. Then finally, both the employee and the line manager will be able to prepare ahead effectively for tasks per day and be able to appropriate time for personal tasks and still achieve maximum productivity while working remotely. So these are the learning objectives that I hope and I expect that we'll get at the end of this session on productivity for remote workers. So to start off, let's look at when we talk about productivity, what exactly am I referring to? So in the context of today's session, this is a definition that I have for productivity. It's basically the accomplishment or achievement of set expectations. What are the expectations that you want achieved from the line manager's perspective and from the employee's perspective? When that is delivered, then we'll be able to say that the line manager is productive, and we'll also be able to say that the employee who is working remotely is productive. So the key message here is that there is need for us to set expectations. If there are no expectations, then it makes it difficult to be able to determine whether one is being productive or not. Now, in managing productivity, there are certain things that the line manager needs to do. So we'll talk about the line manager, what the line manager needs to do to enable or help member become productive. So there are 3 ground norms in terms of expectation, which I think is the first thing that the line manager needs to put on ground. So to say, okay, since we're now moving to remote working, these are 3 ground norms, the way we need to operate to ensure success in working remotely. So the first thing there is the working hours. There's the need for the line manager and his or her team members to agree on the working hours. When do we start work? When do we close? You know, because we are all working at home, what I've also experienced in part of my own work is that I discovered that, you know, at the onset when this lockdown began and we had to stay back home to work, I discovered that sometimes I keep working even up to late into the night. And that's not good, that's not healthy, because by the next day, I'm really tired, I'm not able to do anything. But because I'm at home, you know, where you work is close to, you just work in the same environment. So you just keep working, there's no time to stop. So there's need to agree time to start and time to stop. So that helps the employee to know when to start work and when to go off work, and then have time for their family as well. Then the next thing that we also need to agree between the line manager and the team member is in terms of response time. How long will it take for the line manager to get back to the employee? or how long should the employee take to get back to the line manager when a task is assigned? Is it midday? Is it at the end of the day? So this has to be agreed, you know, so that at such time you expect that response. Because working from home, because you're not seeing this person, you know, unlike when we all come to the office, you see them face to face. Now you're not seeing this person face to face. And if you keep insisting you want to keep seeing the person, it means that either he or she needs to be online. They won't have time to do the work that you want them to do because you want to keep seeing them. So that's why you need to agree response. This person needs to come back to you with the feedback or when you will check for feedback. Then the third thing is, you know, because we're working from home, there are times when maybe I need to run out to go and get something because I'm at home. Or maybe I'm not feeling too well and I need to dash to the clinic to get some, to be attended to by a doctor or dash down to the pharmacy to get some medication. So there's need for the line manager and the employee to be able to ensure that when you're not going to be available, what do you do? How do you communicate that? Do you need to send an email that I will not be available between X time and X time? Or do you send a WhatsApp message? Or do you put it on the calendar? You know, so this has to be agreed. So these are the first things that should be done to ensure that we're able to get productivity from both the line manager and the remote employee who is working remotely. Next set of actions that the line manager needs to put in place in order to ensure that productivity is maximized is to set 3 check-in times. 3 check-in times. So the first one is that at the beginning of the week, okay, there is the need for the line manager to have a one-on-one meeting with all their team members. One-on-one meeting to agree what Mr. A needs to deliver, what Ms. B needs to deliver. Okay? So that is critical so that the week is defined. This is what we need to, and it shouldn't be such a long meeting, maybe 30 minutes, max 15 to 30 minutes meeting to agree this week, this is the focus for the week. And then towards the end of the week, say maybe on a Friday, there is need now to have everyone. So you have more like a team meeting where you bring in everyone that reports to you and you have a weekly action review meetings. What is it that you've agreed with each person, and then they will share in that meeting, what are the things that we need to, and then there are things that are common across all the team members that are reporting to you who would agree and then review those actions and see how far we've gone. Then the third check-in time is that at the end of the day, like what we do currently in my organization, is that at the end of each day, all the line managers, okay, will have to send in a report of their activity to the EXCO that they report to, the EXCO members that they report to. So there's need for line managers to also do that with their team members. And then for people who report directly to me, I also do the same thing with them. So every day, at the end of each day, they send me a report of what they've achieved. So this enables me to track whether they're actually working on what they are supposed to be working. And also puts them on check because they know that at the end of this day, I'm going to report what I've done, you know? So if I have to report what I've done nothing, then it means something is wrong. So it puts the person on their toes to ensure that they're actually doing what they are supposed to be doing. Okay, so in managing productivity, the next thing is that there's need for us to deploy video conferencing tools. Just like this session that we are running now, we're using the video so you can see me, you can see what's happening, you can see the background, you know, where I'm speaking from. So there's need for us that we use the video at least for, in fact, for most of the meetings. I think you should use, if there is a one-on-one meeting, use the video. The weekly action review meeting, use the video. Then the end of day check-in, you might not necessarily need a video for the end of day check-in, but for this one-on-one and the weekly action review meeting, it's nice for you to have a video. And what does this video do for you? As a line manager, you need to be able to know the mood of your employee. You know, if the person is dialing in, maybe, and it's just audio alone, you will not know what sort of countenance, what is the person's countenance, what is the mood, what are the non-verbal communication that you can see. Maybe when you see the person and you see that they are not smiling, you can ask a question, what's happening, what is wrong, is everything all right? Because I can see that you're not looking, you're not smiling, your face is not shining, it's not bright, and you get to know what is going on. So you'll be able to observe non-verbal communication.
Hi, Martin.
Okay, so can you all hear me now? Okay.
Yes,
good.
yes, we can hear you, yes.
I don't know what happened to the technology, it decided to go off. Okay, so let's go back to my slides. Let's go back to my slide again. Let me reshare the screen. Okay, share. Okay, so this is where I stopped before the system decided to go off. So 3 benefits of using a video. So I've talked about observing because I'm going to be on a video call. What that does is that it means that I need to ensure that I dress properly. for the video call, and I appear professionally when participating in the video call. So it encourages everyone to participate in the meeting in a professional way. So everyone will come and not just wearing their bathrobes and appearing on the call, because they know this is work. And because this is work, you need to dress to work. Then the third mention now is that it encourages everyone to get dressed every morning. So because you know that you'll be attending a meeting first in the morning, you get dressed. So even though you're working from home, you get dressed as one who is going to the office, because in reality, you're actually going to the office, going for work. Now, there are three things that the line manager needs to do to ensure that his or her team members are productive. So the first one is, during this one-on-one meeting, there is need to keep it personal. And what do I mean by keeping it personal? Try to use the first few minutes, not just when everyone logs on, we just moving straight to the agenda for the day and start talking about work. There is the need for you to use the first few minutes of the one-on-one meeting to get to know how they've been, especially during this period that we're being locked down in our houses. You know, you need to know how the person is faring, if everything is all right, and then before you move into the meeting for the day. And then you also need to keep it personal during the weekly action review meeting. So the one-on-one is just between the line manager and his or her team member. Then the weekly action review meeting, where you have every other team member present, is an opportunity to also get each person to talk about, okay, what have they been doing to cope, you know, staying at home? What are the new things that are happening? What are they introducing? What new methods are they introducing to enable them become productive and deliver in their day-to-day activity, or what is expected of them? And then one other thing that I've also done in my organization is that because we have a WhatsApp group, so we've decided to say, instead of people just sitting at home, because sometimes you might not be busy the whole day, you carry out a particular task and you have a lot of time in your hand. In some cases, for those who are not very busy, we've introduced a monthly book, okay? A book of the month that each employee, the way we did it is that because each branch, we're about 23 branches, each branch has a WhatsApp group. So the group is distributed to all the WhatsApp group. And then in each branch, we've allocated chapters. So you all read the chapters, and then one person will share each week one chapter, or two people will share depending on the number of chapters in that particular book. And then this creates a learning environment where we are continually learning to improve ourselves. And the book that the last book that I shared talked about what the CEO wants you to know, okay? So what the CEO wants you to know, how do we make money? Especially in this period of lockdown, how do we restart the business? How do we ensure that we continue to make money? How do we save, you know, so that we're able to survive this particular period? So you can share such books and any other book that you think will be useful for your team members. So that's another way to keep personal. So it's not just work we're talking about. We talk work, we also play a little. You know, we play, we work, we play, we work, and we play. And then the other thing again is technology. There's need to invest in technology. You can see the way the technology is behaving. So investing in technology is very critical. So for people to work successfully at home, the basics need to be there. And one of the basic things that should be there is high-speed internet. You need to ensure that those working remotely have high-speed internet. They have the work tools, access to laptop, if it's a desktop, keyboard, iPad, whatever tools that you know that will make their work easy. We need to ensure that we invest in those basics. Then the other thing is the communication and collaboration tool. So examples of what you can invest in could be Zoom. We're using Zoom for this exercise. You can see people are connecting from every part of the continent, and they're participating in these calls. So you can use Zoom, you can use Skype, and you can use Microsoft Teams and several others that are available. But I think Zoom, Skype seem to be the more popular ones. And then there is also a need for you to have a project management software that you will use to track all the actions and activities that need to get done. In our own case, what we've done is to use a simple software like the Excel. You know, you now have a list of tasks that needs to be carried out, who needs to do them, and when. And then there is a column for tracking whether that particular task is still open or closed. Okay, so you can use a simple Excel to do that, which will not cost you so much money since most of us have Microsoft Office installed on our systems. And there are several other project management software that you can use to be able to deliver and when. And this makes it easy for managing performance, like May shared earlier. You know, how do you track and manage performance? If you have this, it makes it easy because you're able to see the tasks that have been shared at the beginning of the week. If there's any other thing shared within the week, you capture it there. At the end of the week, when we're reviewing, or in the evening when the person is sending their end of day checklist of what they've done, fine. And you'll be able to use this to track it. Then the other thing again is there's need for you to be able to know the strengths of your team members. So if you don't know the strength of your team members, there's need to deploy tools to enable you identify their strengths, so that knowing the strengths of your team members will enable you know how to support them. There are some who are weak in certain areas. There are some who are strong in certain areas. So you know how to support them. And there are three major tools that I've experienced that will help to identify team member strengths. There's one called Everything Disc. So this is one of the tools that you can use. There is another one called Emotional Quotient Inventory, and then there's the Clifton Strengths Finder. So these three tools, any of them, you can decide to use them to determine the strengths of your team members. Like for the disc will enable you to know if a particular employee has the dominant strength, or is it a consensus, or does it have an influencing, or is it a steady person, you know, so you'll be able to know all that. Then the emotional quotient inventory will be able to provide you information to know what is this person's tolerance level, you know, how flexible, how can they tolerate stress, how flexible are they, how are they able to control their impulse and all that. And for the Clifton Strength Finder, okay, it has different domains. Talk about relationship building domain, talk about the executing domain. There are several domains. So I will encourage us to research and check them out, do some research, and then see which one you think will work for yourself and your team. Okay, I think I've talked so much about what the line manager, because the line manager is key in ensuring that the employee is productive. Now, in closing, I'll just walk us through from the employee side now, what exactly does he or she need to do? So the first thing, which I've talked about earlier, is you need to dress for work. So because you are working from home, does not mean you just come in with your pajamas and start work. No, you need to dress for work. Wake up in the morning. If usually you need to do some exercise in the morning before you take your bath, make sure you go through all that routine. Get properly dressed as if you're going to the office. So you move from your bedroom to where you want to go after putting on your clothes. So there's need for you to dress for work. Then you need to create a dedicated room or a location. No? I was talking with a few friends and of a situation where you have just one room, okay? Everything is in that one room. How will you be able to create a workspace for yourself? So create a location even in that one room. Identify that this is the location where I'll be working. So that when you move from your bed, you shower, you dress up, you go to that particular location. So you see you've traveled from your bedroom to the bathroom and then to the work location. So make sure you have a dedicated location. So if you have several rooms, you can create one particular room and then make sure you put a notice on the door. Let's say you have family members staying with you. so they get to know that you are at work and that you do not want to be disturbed. Then when you've created a location, make sure that you have a proper workspace. And that workspace should not be where you rest. Have a proper workspace that you've set up where your system is sitting, cleared of clutters, so that you can focus and able to do your work. Because where you are working, there's so many things scattered around it. All those things on the table will be distracting you, and you don't want to be distracted because you are trying to get work done. Then you need to have regular work hour and break times. Because you are working from home, the tendency for you to just sit in that one place from morning till evening, till late night is very high. So you need to have break time. So if it's 1 hour that is your break, make sure you have a set break time. If it's at 12 noon or at 1 p.m., take that 1 hour break, rest, go have your lunch, do whatever you want to do, then come back to work. Then you need to make sure you have a to-do list. Every day you must have a to-do list so you can check off this list. If you don't have a to-do list, it means you'll be doing everything. But because you have a to-do list, it makes it easy for you to say, okay, these are the complex things. So let me do the complex things first before I get tired, before my energy level drops, and then start doing all the other routine things. And then if you're working from home and there are people, you need to try as much as possible to avoid private contacts during working hours. So let everyone in the house know that between this time and this time, I am working, and therefore I do not need anyone distracting me. But if you discover that you can't control that, then you can decide to create some time slots in between. Okay, maybe after 3 hours, I'll create like 5 minutes just to see what it is that's going on, and then come back to work. Then there's need for us to ensure that we'll continue to maintain contact with our business associates. So there are people we need to meet with because we're working from home. Try as much as possible to effectively maximize the use of video conferencing for all your meetings. So when you're having a meeting, use the video conferencing tool like we're using now to have such a meeting. So it shows that we're all being professional. So these are the things that I think that the employee will do to help them become productive when they are working remotely. So in summary, I would like to say that working remotely is now the new normal. So there's need for us to brace up, skill up, and move up. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Just before we wind up, our apologies, we've taken a little bit more time, but I hope it was worth everyone's while. I'd like to we launch a poll. Let's just find out who's working from home. Who's working from home or in between remote and office, okay? A large percentage seems to be working from home now, okay. Okay, as we take on this poll, I'd like to inform everyone, we will share the video recording of this session on email by the end of this week. And tomorrow's session is again still on performance management. If you can be able to join us, that would be great. Same timing. We'll also email you the link to this meeting for tomorrow, for the link for tomorrow's meeting. And we'd like to thank the 200 HR professionals who joined us for this session. Thank you very much. Any questions not answered, please feel free. Yes, sorry, Michael.
I can see some are asking for my social media handle. So let me display it again. Okay. Let me display the social media handle. Let me share my screen once more.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, okay. So for those of you who want to connect with me on Twitter, is at Ian Micheal. On LinkedIn, it's also Ian Micheal, linkedin.com/Ian Micheal. On Facebook, also Ian Micheal or ianmicheal.ng. And then you can use the hashtag HR with EM to find me anywhere. And if you want to check out my blog, is www.ianmicheal.ng. So on Twitter at Ian Micheal, LinkedIn, Emmanuel Micheal, So those are the places you can find me on the internet. Yeah.
Okay, so those are the those are the results of the poll. I think a large population is working remotely, with about 30% in between remote and office. Okay, so any questions that we've not been able to respond to, you can email to the email address I've shared, martin@iPerformance Africa. I saw some questions about KPIs. Tomorrow morning, we'll be able to handle about KPI. But what I'd like to say is KPIs are unique to each organization. And a KPI is a measure of what people are doing, so long as it can be measured. So you can list down all the operations or all the things people in that particular department you want KPIs for, and then come up with a way to measure it. And those become your KPI. We'd like to thank everyone again. Join us tomorrow, same time, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock Kenya time. And for Lagos, that is 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Have a great evening, a great day, everyone. I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Social distancing, keep safe.
Yeah, keep safe. And thank you all for joining us. So I look forward to connecting with everyone on LinkedIn and on Twitter. Thank you very much. And bye-bye.
Thank you very much for your support as well.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Stay safe, yes. Thanks, bye.